At the family beach vacation, my mother-in-law announced, "This house is for real family only." Husband agreed, "Honey, just go home." I smiled and called security. "Please escort them out of my resort." Their faces when they saw my name on every building. And I had plans for their special day. The text came while I was reviewing quarterly reports for my resort chain. "Remember to pack casual clothes for the beach house this weekend? Nothing fancy. It's just family." My mother-in-law's message, dripping with her usual condescension, made me smile. Is she only new? I'm Sarah Chin, 34, owner of the Sapphire Bay Resort Group. But my in-laws had no idea. They thought I was just their son, Michael's wife, who worked in hospitality. I'd never corrected their assumption. Let them believe I was a hotel receptionist if they wanted to. The truth was, I built my company from the ground up, turning struggling beachfront property into a luxury resort empire. 10 years ago, when I met Michael at a hotel management conference, I was already successful but preferred to keep a low profile. He worked in marketing for a mid-sized firm and was charming, kind, and seemingly different from his status-obsessed family. We fell in love, and I decided to maintain my privacy about my true position. "Let them get to know me for me," I told Michael. He agreed, though I sometimes caught him squirming when his family made snide remarks about my little job. The annual family beach vacation had always been a power play for my mother-in-law Regina. She'd rent the most expensive house at Sapphire Bay, my flagship resort, and spend the week reminding everyone that she was the treating the family to this luxury. The fact that she was actually paying me for the privilege was a private amusement I kept to myself for 5 years. But this year was different. 2 months ago, I'd overheard Regina and my sister-in-law, Amanda, plotting during a family dinner. "It's time Michael traded up," Regina had said, not realizing I was approaching the kitchen. That Jessica from his office would be perfect. Her father owns half of downtown. Sarah's sweet, but she's just not our caliber. This beach trip is our chance to show Michael the difference between class and, well, you know. I quietly stepped back, my hand finding the resort keycard in my pocket. The master key with my name and title emblazoned on it. Maybe it was time for a different kind of vacation. Friday afternoon, I arrived at the beach house ahead of everyone else using my private access road. The staff, who knew exactly who I was, but were well trained in discretion, had everything prepared according to my specifications. I changed into a simple sundress, exactly the kind Regina would consider cheap, and waited. They arrived in a convoy of luxury cars, Regina leading the way in her Mercedes SUV. Michael kissed me hello while his mother surveyed the house with her usual proprietary air. Amanda trailed behind with her husband Tom and the new addition to their group, Jessica from Michael's office, wearing a designer swimsuit that probably cost more than Regina thought I made in a month. "Sarah, dear." Regina's voice carried that familiar false sweetness. "Help Maria with the luggage, won't you?" She gestured to their housekeeper, who was struggling with several expensive bags. "Actually," I smiled, "Maria can take the afternoon off. I've arranged for butler service for the house." Regina's eyes narrowed at my presumption. "And who," she asked acidly, "is paying for that?" "Oh, don't worry about it," I replied mildly. "It's taken care of." The afternoon proceeded according to Regina's obvious script. Jessica was seated next to Michael at every opportunity, while I was consistently relegated to the far end of the group. My husband, I noticed with growing disappointment, did nothing to stop it. "Sarah," Regina announced during dinner on a terrace, "be a dear and check why the air conditioning isn't working properly in the East Wing." I set down my wine glass. "I can call maintenance." No, she interrupted. "You work in hospitality. Surely you know how to handle these little problems. Jessica, why don't you tell Michael more about your father's new development project?" I felt a familiar buzz from my phone. "The resort security team sending your nightly report." I excused myself. Not that anyone besides Maria noticed, and stepped into the house. Through the window I could see Jessica touching Michael's arm, laughing at something he'd said. My husband was beaming at the attention. The security report included camera footage from the beach house. I watched Regina and Amanda in the kitchen earlier, spiking my water glass with what appeared to be liquid laxative. How original. I typed a quick message to my head of security. "Proceed with Protocol 17. When I returned to the terrace, Reginald was holding court. "Really, Sarah? I don't know why you insist on wearing that Target dress to dinner. We have standards here." "Right, Michael?" My husband shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Jessica smirked behind her wine glass. "Speaking of standards," Regina continued. I've been thinking, this house really isn't big enough for everyone. Sarah, dear, perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of the budget hotels in town. This is a family gathering after all. I watched Michael waiting for him to defend me. Instead, he stared at his plate. Honey, Mom has a point. It is getting crowded, and you'd probably be more comfortable. The doors to the terrace opened. John, my head of security, appeared with 2 other officers. Mrs. Chen, he addressed me formally. Is everything all right? Regina stood up, outraged. Who are you? How dare you interrupt our family dinner? Sarah, since you work here, deal with this immediately. I smiled, reaching into my purse for my master keycard and ID badge. Actually, Regina, I do need to deal with this. As owner and CEO of Sapphire Bay Resorts, I'm afraid I have to inform you that your reservation has been cancelled. The silence was absolute. Michael's fork clattered to his plate. Owner, Regina whispered. Yes, I replied calmly. Owner of this resort and the entire chain. All 17 properties, actually. And since you violated multiple terms of your rental agreement, attempting to poison another guest for instance, I'm exercising my right to terminate your stay. But, Amanda sputtered. You're just a hotel clerk. No. That's just what you chose to believe because it fit your prejudices. I've owned this resort chain for 12 years. I let you treat me like the help because I wanted to see who you really were. Congratulations. You showed me. I turned to my husband who was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Michael, I'm disappointed, but not surprised by your behavior. You'll be hearing from my lawyer about the divorce proceedings. And Jessica, I addressed the now pale woman. You might want to update your resume. I just bought a controlling interest in your father's company. Your position is being eliminated in tomorrow's restructuring. Regina found her voice. You can't do this. We have a contract. The contract you never bothered to read. The one that gives me the right to evict guests for cause. John, please escort everyone out. Their belongings will be sent to whatever accommodations they can find in town. I pause. Though I should warn you, I own all the luxury properties in a 50-mile radius. You might want to try the Motel 6. You've been lying to us for years. Regina shrieked as security began clearing the terrace. No, Regina. I simply let you show me who you really were. You never bothered to ask what I actually did. Never showed any interest in my work or my life. You were too busy trying to replace me with someone you thought was better suited to your social status. I watched as they were escorted to their cars, Regina still protesting, Amanda in tears, Jessica trying desperately to make calls on her phone. Michael lingered. Sarah, I didn't know. That's the problem, Michael. You didn't want to know. You were so worried about keeping your mother happy that you never stood up for your wife. Good luck with the divorce. Don't worry about a settlement. I've already transferred enough to your account to buy a small condo. Maybe your mother will let you live in her pool house. As their cars disappeared down the private drive, I turned to Maria who was watching with wide eyes. Maria, I'd like to offer you a new position as head of housekeeping services for the resort with full benefits and triple your current salary, of course. The woman burst into tears of joy, hugging me. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. I can't believe you let them treat you that way all these years. I smiled watching the sunset over my resort. Sometimes, Maria, the best revenge is simply letting people show you exactly who they are. Now, shall we discuss your new duties over dinner? I believe we have a lovely meal going to waste. The video went viral 3 days later. Someone, probably one of the kitchen staff, had recorded Regina's meltdown as security escorted her off my property. The clip of her screaming, "But we're FANILY." While being walked to her Mercedes racked up millions of views. Social media had a field day with the Beach House Boss Lady saga, particularly when someone dug up Regina's old Facebook post, bragging about treating the family to luxury vacations at Sapphire Bay. I watched the fallout from my private suite at the resort's penthouse, sipping coffee and reviewing acquisition proposals. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since that night. Calls from Regina, Michael, Amanda, their friends, their country club associates, I blocked them all. The only call I took was from Jessica's father. Mrs. Chen, he'd said, his voice carefully controlled. I believe we need to discuss the recent changes in company ownership. Mr. Bradford, I replied. We certainly do. Particularly, your daughter's involvement in attempting to break up my marriage. I'm sure the board would be interested in those text messages between her and my mother-in-law. plotting to seduce my husband during a company-sponsored event. The silence on his end was delicious. Now I continued about that merger you've been pursuing with Henderson Group. I'm prepared to make it happen provided Jessica is relocated to your Singapore office immediately. That can be arranged. Wonderful. My lawyers will be in touch. The divorce proceedings move quickly. Michael's lawyer nearly choked when he saw my financial disclosures. The pronoun I'd insisted on, the one Regina had called unnecessary for someone of Sarah's position, proved invaluable. Michael got exactly what we'd agreed to, enough for a modest fresh start, nothing more. Regina's attempts at damage control backfired spectacularly. Her tearful interview with a local news station, claiming she'd been blindsided by her daughter-in-law's deception, prompted my PR team to release security footage of her attempting to spike my drink. The resulting headlines weren't kind. Mother-in-law's poisoning attempt exposed. Beach house drama continues. Amanda tried playing peacemaker, showing up at my corporate office unannounced. "Sarah, please," she begged. "Mom's a wreck. The country club is freezing her out." Her charity board asked her to step down. "Can't you make this all go away?" I looked up from my laptop where I've been reviewing plans for my newest resort acquisition. Coincidentally, the very property Regina had been bragging about booking for next year's family vacation. Make what go away, Amanda. The consequences of your actions, the truth about how you all treated me, or just the public embarrassment of being exposed. We didn't know who you were. That's exactly the point. You shouldn't have to know someone's net worth to treat them with basic respect. I turned my screen to show her the property listing. By the way, I just bought the Vista Del Mar Resort. Your mother might want to find a new venue for her annual I'm Better Than You vacation. The aftermath rippled through their social circle. Regina's carefully curated image as the family matriarch crumbled. Her friends, those same women who'd smirked at her subtle digs about her daughter-in-law's modest background, now whispered about her behind designer handbags. The irony of them doing so in my hotels wasn't awesome me. Michael attempted reconciliation exactly once. He showed up at my corporate office wearing the suit he bought for our wedding. "I miss you," he said, standing awkwardly in front of my desk. I was wrong. I should have stood up to them. Yes, you should have. I kept my voice neutral, but you didn't. Not once in 5 years. I didn't know you owned all this if I'd known. That's the problem, Michael. You needed to know I was wealthy to treat me with respect. It should have been enough that I was your wife. He left my office with slumped shoulders, finally understanding what he'd lost. Not my money. The prenup ensured he'd never had that. But my trust, my respect, and any chance of a future together. 6 months after the beach house incident, I hosted a charity gala at my flagship resort. The event raised millions for educational scholarships for hospitality workers. Maria, now my head of housekeeping services, gave a moving speech about opportunities and second chances. Regina tried to purchase a ticket. Her payment was refunded with a note. We reserved the right to refuse service. The media coverage was extensive. Business magazines that had once dismissed me as lucky or in the right place at the right time now praise my strategic brilliance in building my empire. A famous business journal wanted to profile me for their Women in Leadership issue. Looking back, I told the interviewer, "I'm almost grateful for how they treated me. It taught me valuable lessons about character, about how people behave when they think you're beneath them. I've incorporated those lessons into my company culture. Every employee from dishwasher to executive is treated with equal respect." The article went viral. Applications to work at my resorts tripled. I instituted a new hiring policy. Any hint of elitism or superiority in an interview was automatic disqualification. 1 year after the beach house incident, I received an invitation to Michael and Jessica's engagement party. Apparently, she'd returned from Singapore, and they'd reconnected. The venue, one of my competitors' hotels, the only luxury property in the area I didn't own. I sent a gift, a framed copy of the rental agreement from that fateful beach weekend, with a clause about behavior-based eviction highlighted. My note read, "Congratulations. May your new family treat each other better than your last one treated me." Regina, I heard, had sold her beach house. The one she'd spent years renovating to keep up with the Sapphire Bay aesthetic. The buyer, my company through a shell corporation, I had it converted into a retreat center for overworked hospitality employees. The transformation of my business continued. Sapphire Bay Resorts became known for more than luxury. We were celebrated for our corporate culture, our employee retention, and our zero-tolerance policy for guest harassment of staff. Maria's daughter became our first scholarship recipient, heading to Cornell's hotel management program with a full ride. When Regina's friends complained about the decline in service standards, since I've instituted my progressive policies, I had their memberships in our loyalty program revoked. The final twist came during a routine business acquisition 2 years later. I was reviewing the purchase of a small but exclusive country club, the very one where Regina had held court for decades. "Mrs. Chen," my assistant said, "there's one small detail you should know. Mrs. Regina Wallace hold the lifetime membership." I smiled, thinking of all those years of condescension, of being treated like the help, of watching my husband fail to defend me. "Please inform Mrs. Wallace that under new ownership, all memberships are subject to review. Her presence would make other members uncomfortable." I used the exact words she used about me at the beach house. The letter terminating her membership was delivered the same day she received an invitation to Michael and Jessica's wedding at a budget hotel ballroom. Apparently, Jessica's father's new Singapore-based position had affected their circumstances more than expected. I donated Regina's membership fees to the scholarship fund. The first recipient, Maria's youngest daughter, who dreamed of owning her own hotel someday. Sometimes, sitting in my penthouse office overlooking the ocean, I think about that last family dinner at the beach house. The shock on their faces, the sudden realization that the person they've dismissed had held the power all along. But real power, I've learned, isn't in wealth or status. It's in being true to yourself, in treating everyone with dignity regardless of their position, and in never letting anyone else define your worth. Regina still drives past the resort sometimes. I've seen her car slow down at the gates, seen her stare at the sign that bears my name. I wonder if she finally understands that her greatest mistake wasn't in underestimating my wealth, it was in underestimating my worth. The beach house where it all ended is now my favorite private retreat. I've kept one thing from that last dinner: the wine glass Regina tried to spike. It sits in a display case in my office, a reminder that success isn't just about making money. It's about maintaining your dignity while letting others reveal their true character. Last week, I received a letter from Michael. Inside was an invitation to his and Jessica's wedding, along with a handwritten note. "I know you won't come, but I wanted you to see what rock bottom looks like. You were right about everything. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." I sent back a response on Sapphire Bay letterhead. "Congratulations. I've booked you the honeymoon suite at our Singapore property. Consider it my wedding gift and a reminder that class has nothing to do with money." The suite, of course, didn't exist, but I'm sure they'll figure that out when they get there. After all, some lessons are best learned the hard way.